Alright, so if you remember, we're using our Rage 4, Evolution Rage 4, to cut this 1/8 inch by 3/4 steel. And we've been fiddling around with these stop blocks to get the length, because we're cutting repeated lengths of the steel, maybe a dozen or so. So that's been kind of fussy and problematic. The other issue is when you do the cuts, the end of the cut end of the steel, which I don't have a good example here, but cut end of the steel is all rough. It's not a very smooth cut, so I've been using my DeWalt grinder with a stone wheel and a wire wheel to clean it up, and that actually takes a long time. So here's some examples of some of the ones I've been cleaning up. So this takes, maybe a minute or so per piece, so I'm hoping to get a different cutting wheel. Now this cutting wheel here, cutting blade, is good for all sorts of things. Good for metal, wood, plastic. So we're getting a dedicated metal cutting blade from Diablo today. So we're going to be comparing the cuts from this blade to the other blade. But in the meantime, since it hasn't shown up yet, we're going to create some custom stop blocks. So instead of positioning this every time, let me zoom in a little bit. Instead of positioning this every time, at an exact position and using this clamp, we're going to create a custom stop block that butts up against this edge of the frame here. Now there's a little lip here, so we can't just we couldn't use a square piece of wood. So we're going to use a wood with a little cutout. I happen to have this 1x4 that already has a 45-degree angle, so I can use this as my cutout, and then I'll just I'll cut this off, and then I'll cut out a notch here that's the right offset to get my custom length for the different lengths of pieces I need. So we're going to do that, and since this thing can cut wood, we'll just use this. Since the Rage 4 this blade can cut wood, we'll just use this chop saw to cut this off. So let's do that first, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we're ready to make our cut. So distance from this lip over to the edge of the frame is about 1 centimeter. So I took my 1x4 and using my speed square, I mark this line, and then I measured 1 centimeter over and mark this line. So this is the line we want to cut on. I'm going to cut on this line. So, let's see. Okay, that's wide enough. Actually, you better cut it this direction. I'll have to mark on the other side so we can cut it in this direction. So I'm just going to transfer this over. Transfer to the other side. Easy enough to do. Alright. Okay, that's good. And I'm using our face shield. We're going to keep using that. Don't really need it for wood. We don't really need it for wood, but as long as we got it. Alright, so I cut the wood okay. There's a little bit of tear in here, so not great, but compared to my chop saw, this is not a great cut. But this is mainly for steel, so we don't care about that. Alright, so now we can measure this. And so this fits up tightly against the frame, and it misses the lip, so this is exactly what we want. And we just need to measure over this down we need to measure over here to get our right distance for our stop block. So we'll do that next. Alright, so we're going to clamp this block on there. It would be if we're actually using it. Cut something. Use our clamp. Like that. Okay. Alright, now we want to measure the line from the base of the frame here so that we know where our steel is going to come across. So we need to put a line here. So we don't want to cut this part down here because we want it to be resting up against the frame. So this is what our end of our cut's going to be here. Then our shortest length is 32 millimeters, which is right. So we're going to cut it a little bit short, and then we'll tune it by sanding it. Alright, so we're inside. We're going to use our crosscut saw, Irwin crosscut saw, to cut this line here where the bottom of the cut's going to be. And we don't have to cut in that far, so we're not going to cut very far. About like that. And we'll put this around, and we're going to cut. We're going to cut this line right here. We're going to leave it a little bit short. There's not much to cut off here because we're going to sand it with a sanding block to make it perfect, the perfect length. So we're going to cut a little bit short. Let's cut carefully here. So we're right on the edge of the wood. So. Cut all the way down to our cut we made earlier. Just about there, yeah. Well, it's kind of rough, but we can smooth it out. So let's take a look at it from this side. So it's kind of rough. It's kind of a rough cut because we were cutting right on the edge there. We couldn't really control it that well. But we did leave some of the line there. So we can test this and sand this. We'll smooth it out and then sand it to make it sure it's exactly 32 millimeters, and then we'll start cutting some steel. Alright, so we're going to be sanding this off using our 4-in-1 sander. And just smoothing it out. Got a lot of material. This is a lot big off of the top here, so we'll use the rough side. And the smooth side we'll use for the bottom. Really only the very bottom here that needs to be 32 millimeters. So we're right about on the edge. So let's just smooth this out a little bit more. Get rid of some of this chipping. So that looks pretty good. So we're going to try this. We're going to lock it in the machine. Try it out. Cut a piece of steel and see how the length comes out. And then we'll see how close we got. Now once we get this tuned, then we're going to cut the end of this off so we can use the rest of this for the other lengths. Okay, let's just get this in here. Alright, so then we'll double check with our ruler. Looks like it's just about right, so see what happens. That's the pain. It works, but it's annoying there. Right? Alright, so now we need to move our thing up. Keep our steel. our steel in there up against the stop block. Oh, actually, I want to do it vertically. Yeah, vertically, of course. Alright, so we're in there, we're tight. Put on our face shield. Alright, so here's our cut. You can see it's pretty jagged. So we're going to be comparing this to the dedicated steel cutting blade we're getting this afternoon. So is this still hot? So now we can check it with our calipers. And came out at 30, so that's a little bit short. That's not good. So the blade must have wandered. I guess at the bottom is 32. The top was 30. Yeah, the bottom here is 31, the top is 30. So that means we need to take a little bit more off of here. Okay, that makes sense. So we're a little bit too conservative. So we need to sand this more. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll see what happens when we get the new blade. Alright, so we got the edge tuned. We used the grinder. Now we're going to cut off this stop block. There's our custom stop block. So we'll give it a try and see how it cuts. So here's the the grinding wheel on the grinder made this nice and smooth by kind of burning it, which is going to work out okay for us there. Alright, so we're installing our stop block. So it butts up nicely against yours, about the same width as this. Put our clamp on, crank it up. We should be able to get repeatable cuts of steel at exactly the same length. So we're going to try another one there. Alright, safety equipment and cut. Alright, so let's check our length there. And it's just about perfect. Yep, 32 millimeters. So, alright. That's one we got to do a bunch more. I'm not going to show you those, but you got the idea now. So you can put the Rage 4 on a stand, a wooden stand, attach it to a solid base. In this case, I'm using the Workmate. I also remember I'm in the back here. I'm attaching it with a. Let's get this out of the way. Attaching it with a bolt to make sure it doesn't pop up or anything. And then you can make a custom stop block and cut repeated lengths pretty accurately. And when we get our metal cutting blade, we should be able to cut with a much cleaner edge, so we'll have less cleanup time. So we'll finish this video up by getting a new blade on there. I'll show you how to change the blades, and we'll see if we get better cuts than this. You can see there's a lot of there's a little burrs here and other things that I have to clean up on the grinder, which is a waste of time if I can get a better blade that'll cut cleaner. So the new blade is for metal only, so should hopefully make a difference.